What if the love story everyone thought they understood was never the truth at all? What if the quietest person in the room, Dylan's own mother, held the key to a triangle that fans have argued about for years? This is where our story begins. Not with a rumor, not with a scandal, but with a voice. A mother's voice, steady, calm, and devastatingly honest. The moment everything changed. In the sweeping silence of a dimly lit living room, Dylan's mother finally spoke about the storm that had followed her son for years. Cameras off, reporters gone. Just her, the truth, and the weight of stories that never aligned. She began with a sigh that sounded like the end of an era. She said she had watched in silence as the world tried to decide who her son belonged to. Was it the girl who walked into his life with a quiet spark, Shinu? Or the woman whose confidence and elegance could command any room, Bai Lu? But then she revealed something no one expected. She admitted that the love triangle fans spent years constructing had roots far deeper than the internet ever realized. And that revelation shook the foundation of everything people thought they knew. Dylan and Shen Yue, a connection that never died. She said Shen Yue wasn't just an old co-star. She wasn't just the girl from that drama. She was the first person who ever softened Dylan's edges. His mother described the way he came home from filming Meteor Garden, looking like someone who had just witnessed a sunrise he couldn't explain. He didn't talk about fame. He didn't talk about pressure. He talked about Shen Yue. The way she laughed before she could stop herself. The way she wore her kindness like armor. The way she grounded him in a world that was suddenly spinning too fast. His mother admitted she knew, even then, that something had changed in him. But timing is cruel. Fame louder. Schedules heavier. What begins as youthful magic often dissolves under the weight of reality. Yet she said something chilling. The connection never actually faded. It just went quiet. Enter Bai Lu, the unexpected shift. When Bai Lu walked into Dylan's life, everything shifted again. Dylan's mother described Bai Lu not as a rival to Shen Yue, but as a force of nature, someone who challenged Dylan, sharpened him, pushed him beyond his own limitations. She said Bai Lu was the kind of woman who knew exactly what she wanted, and when she set her sights on something or someone, it was impossible not to feel the heat of her presence. For a moment, it seemed she and Dylan were perfectly aligned. But then his mother confessed the part no one expected. She saw in Bai Lu a spark of ambition that sometimes overshadowed vulnerability. She believed Bai Lu admired Dylan deeply, maybe even loved him, but not in the quiet, grounding way Shen Yue did. Her words were soft, but they cut with precision. Bai Lu saw the man Dylan was becoming. Shen Yue saw the boy he used to be, but only one of them saw both. The collision of three lives. Dylan's mother described the love triangle not as a war, but as a storm. Three different energies clashing at the wrong time, the wrong pace, in the wrong spotlight. She explained how Dylan was torn between familiarity and fire, between peace and passion, between the girl who steadied him and the woman who challenged him. She admitted that she never interfered, but she watched as her son tried to navigate emotions that didn't belong on magazine covers or gossip sites. But then she revealed the most dramatic twist. At one point, both women thought they had him, and both were wrong. The truth about the triangle. His mother leaned forward, speaking almost in a whisper, as if the truth itself might burn the air. She said the love triangle didn't collapse because of a fight. It didn't collapse because of jealousy. It collapsed because Dylan himself didn't know which version of love he was ready for. He wasn't choosing between two women. He was choosing between two futures. One stable, one chaotic, one familiar, one thrilling, one that felt like home, one that felt like destiny. And then she delivered the line that would echo through every fan community. People think love is about choosing a person, but sometimes love is about choosing yourself first. The moment Dylan stepped away, Dylan's mother said that when he realized he was losing pieces of himself in the confusion, he did the only thing he could. He stepped away from both. The world saw distance. Fans saw drama. But his mother saw protection. She said he needed silence to understand his heart, silence that fame rarely allows. And in that silence, she hinted that something changed again. The final revelation. At the end of her story, she gave a small, knowing smile. She said the world will always speculate about Dylan and Bai Lu. People will always romanticize Dylan and Shin Yue. But she, the woman who raised him, knows only one truth. There is one person his heart always returns to, whether he admits it or not. But she refused to say who, not because she wanted to keep secrets, but because she believed the real story wasn't finished yet. And so the love triangle remains, alive, unresolved, pulsing quietly beneath fame, timing, and unspoken words. Because in the world of stars and shadows, some endings are not endings at all. They are pauses, waiting for the heart to breathe, to choose, to finally speak. But what if the truth Dylan's mother refused to say aloud was written in the moments everyone ignored? What if the answer wasn't hidden in drama or rumors, but in the way Dylan himself behaved when no one was watching? This is where the story deepens, into the quiet, the subtle, the unspoken. The clue his mother didn't say, but showed. After her confession, Dylan's mother didn't leave the room immediately. She stood up slowly, walked to a small wooden cabinet and opened it. Inside were three things: a photo, a ticket, and a letter. She didn't explain them. She simply placed them on the table. But each item carried a story of its own. The photo was old, Meteor Garden era. Dylan laughing at something off camera, eyes soft, posture relaxed. And beside him stood Shin Yue, attempting to hide her grin, as though the moment wasn't meant to be captured. The ticket was recent, shockingly recent. A backstage entry pass from one of Bai Lu's drama events. It had Dylan's initials privately marked in the corner, as though he had been there quietly, anonymously, without fanfare. The letter was sealed, untouched. The handwriting, unmistakably Dylan's. The recipient's name, hidden. His mother looked at these items the way someone looks at unfinished stories. Then she whispered, "People think the truth is loud. But sometimes the truth is in the things we keep." And then she walked away, leaving the room charged with answers that raised more questions. The indication no one expected. When reporters later pressured her for clarity, Dylan's mother said something that only deepened the mystery. "I don't choose for my son, but I know where his smile becomes real." She didn't mention a name. She didn't have to. Those who knew Dylan, really knew him, could read between the lines. Those who watched his interviews, the way his eyes softened when certain names were said, those who noticed how certain co-stars reduced him to laughter he couldn't control, those who remembered how certain controversies triggered unusually emotional responses, all of them began to lean in the same direction. But then the twist arrived. The private meeting that changed everything. 2 weeks before his mother spoke out, Dylan had met with someone privately. No cameras, no staff, no managers. Just a single meeting in a quiet tea house on the outskirts of the city. Witnesses said Dylan seemed nervous at first, pacing, checking his watch, adjusting his sleeves. Then she arrived, hooded, masked, silent. She stepped inside, and for a moment, the air changed. They sat together for nearly 2 hours. No raised voices, no dramatic gestures, just two people speaking with the weight of years between them. When she finally walked out, she didn't look back. But Dylan did. He watched her leave as though watching a chapter close or open. No one could confirm who the woman was. But those closest to him insisted on one thing. There was history in the way he looked at her. Not a rumor. Not a fantasy. History. Bai Lu's reaction, and the silence that followed. Meanwhile, Bai Lu remained strikingly calm. She didn't deny. She didn't confirm. She didn't stir the fire. Instead, her social media went quiet. Too quiet. People close to her claimed she had stepped back to reassess her priorities, but insiders whispered something deeper. She knew something had shifted, but she wasn't going to chase it. A source described her as someone who loved fiercely, but never begged. She felt something real with Dylan, but she also knew he had unfinished business with someone else. Shin Yu's unexpected sign. Shin Yue, on the other hand, kept living her quiet, steady life. But fans noticed one subtle change. During a recent live stream, someone mentioned Dylan's name. For a moment, just a breath, her smile faltered. Not in sadness, not in pain, but in recognition. Like someone remembering a memory they tried to store away but couldn't. And when she looked away from the screen, you could almost feel the weight of something unspoken. Something unresolved. The real heart of the triangle. The love triangle was never about rivalry. Never about competition. It was about timing. Unfinished emotions. And the way some people enter your life loudly, while others enter quietly and never leave. Dylan's mother hinted at a choice. Dylan himself hinted at a person. And both women had pieces of his story. But the greatest revelation comes now, from someone who has watched Dylan more closely than any of them. A close friend of his once said, "His heart always shifts when her name is mentioned. Not because he still loves her, but because he never stopped." The question the world is asking now is simple.
Who is he talking about?
And the answer is closer than anyone realizes. Because Dylan's mother didn't give a name, but she gave enough clues for the story to point in only one direction.